Click here to listen to the story read aloud. Directions. Determine each type of question. Is it predictive, inference, detail, big picture, or connection? Shade the question the correct color. Answer each question using complete sentences. Shortish story number 6. I know you're going to say I'm crazy, but I swear to God that the story I'm going to tell you is true. Every word of it. When my wife and I were first married, we lived in a house just outside of town. I'd quit drinking, so Lainey and I were getting along great. When I got my 60-day chip, she was proud of me. I felt like I had finally had control over alcohol. We got a dog, then another dog, then a cat. I loved all the animals, but the black cat was my favorite. We named him Pluto. Pluto loves you the most, Lainey teased. Yours favorite. I don't really care, I said. Answer the following questions, and then unpause the video to continue. Question 1. What challenge has the narrator recently overcome? Even though I pretended it didn't really matter, I liked that he always wanted to sit in my lap when we watched TV in the evenings. Then I lost my job. I applied everywhere, but I didn't even get called for an interview. Money started to be a problem, and I started drinking again. Why can't you just talk to me instead of getting blackout drunk? Lainey shouted. Because you don't get it, I shouted back. I wanted to stop for her, but I couldn't. Even Pluto didn't want to be around me. He hid under Lainey's chair whenever I came into the room. Go back to AA, Lainey begged. Lots of people fall off the wagon and they get back on. I'm not lots of people, I said. Pause the video to answer the question. Question 2. What causes the narrator to relapse, or to start drinking again? Unpause the video to continue after you've answered the question. I was angry all the time. Little things set me off. An empty toilet paper tube, running out of milk, losing my car keys. The more I drank, the angrier I got. I yelled at Lainey over every little thing. The pets annoyed me, even Pluto. He started to avoid me. He hid under Lainey's chair instead of jumping into my lap. It felt like one more thing I couldn't do right, and it pissed me off. You're scaring him, Lainey said, holding the cat protectively to her chest. He sees how mad you are, and he doesn't like it. After one particularly bad fight about my drinking, Lainey ran out of the house and went to her mom's for the night. I can't keep living like this, she sobbed as she slammed the front door. Feeling like a total failure, I started up the stairs to go to bed. I didn't see Pluto laying on the step, and I put my foot down right on top of him. Pluto shrieked in pain and ran up the top of the stairs. He stared at me like he hated me. I could almost hear the cat thinking, God, you're an F-up. Get out of my way, I shouted. The cat didn't move. He just sat there, judging me. I completely lost it. All the anger I felt about Lainey, my drinking, and my job came pouring out. I'm ashamed of what I did next. I grabbed Pluto and shook him. Without thinking, my hand went to the pocket knife in my jeans pocket. F you, you effing cat, I screamed. I couldn't stand the way the cat looked at me, the way he judged me. I had to make him stop staring at me. I had to make him stop. I pulled open the knife, held the cat, and stabbed him in the eye. As soon as I did it, I felt horrible. I dropped Pluto, and he ran off howling in pain. Pause the video to answer the questions. Question 3. Summarize what happened between the narrator and Pluto in this section. Question 4. Do you think the cat was judging the narrator? Why or why not? If the cat wasn't judging him, why did the narrator hurt the cat? Unpause the video to continue when you are ready. Lainey came back the next day. When she saw Pluto, she took him right to the vet. He lost the eye. If you don't get yourself together, I'm leaving for good, she said. I really mean it this time. I swear I'm going to stop, I promised. But I didn't. I just got better at hiding it from Lainey. Every time I saw Pluto, I remembered what I did. I didn't like remembering. Seeing the cat run away every time I came into the room was a constant reminder of what an S person I was. After another huge fight that ended when Lainey slammed the front door on her way to her mom's, I drank most of a bottle of vodka. There was Pluto, hiding under Lainey's chair, staring at me with that God, you're an F-up expression on his face. "What are you staring at?" I shouted, staggering towards the cat. Pluto hissed. Something about that rejection pushed me over the edge. I grabbed the cat and the nearest thing I could use to hurt him. It was a jump rope that Lainey used when she worked out. I wrapped the jump rope around the cat's neck, looping it once, twice, 3 times. I pulled it tighter and tighter. My face was red, and I was sweating from the effort. Pluto clawed at me, trying to get free. Every scratch made me angrier. It felt good to have control over something. It felt good to hurt something. When the cat stopped moving, I was still angry. Looking back, I wasn't angry at the cat. I wasn't angry at Lainey. I was angry at myself. Still in a rage, I dragged the cat and the jump rope outside. I hung the cat in the tree by its neck and left it there. I threw up all over my shirt and then passed out right there in the yard. I wish I could say that was rock bottom for me. It wasn't. When I woke up in the yard, I realized what I'd done. I knew I had to get rid of Pluto before Lainey saw him. His eyes were glassy and his body was stiff as I cut him down from the tree. I put his body into a trash bag, then walked it to a dumpster in the next alley. When Lainey got home, I was drinking vodka at the kitchen table. She petted the dogs and then looked around for Pluto. "Where's Pluto?" she asked. I felt sudden rage at Lainey, like when a pot of pasta suddenly foams up and boils over onto the stove. "Why can't you just leave me the F alone?" I shouted, throwing my glass against the cabinets where it shattered. Glass was everywhere. Pause the video to answer the questions. Question 5. Who is causing the problems in the relationship between the narrator and his wife? Question 6. Go back and highlight 2 pieces of text evidence from this section that prove who is at fault. Unpause the video when you're ready to continue. Lainey curled up into a ball in the corner, covering her head. My anger grew. I grabbed a kitchen knife and held it to my throat. "Is this what you want?" I screamed. "Is it? Do you want me to kill myself? Do you?" "No," Lainey sobbed. Seeing her hiding in the corner should have made me feel guilty, but instead I felt annoyed. I was tired of her guilt trips and her lectures. I grabbed her hair and put my face inches from hers. "Maybe you want me to kill you," I spat, putting the knife against her throat. "Maybe you want me to slit your throat. Is that what will shut you up?" Lainey just cried harder. It made me hate her. I watched my hand grip the knife tighter. I watched the knife tear through the soft skin in her throat. Her eyes grew wide. The only sound was a surprised "ah!" So quick and quiet I might have missed it if I had breathed. A thin, red line appeared, and time stopped briefly before blood rushed down, soaking into her pink sweater. She pressed against the wound, but it was deep. Her hands were stained like she was wearing a pair of red gloves. Something about it struck me as funny, and I started to laugh. I couldn't stop. I sat on the floor and laughed until my head hurt. When the laughter stopped, I began to appreciate the seriousness of what I had done. I drank more vodka to steady my hands and clear my head. I couldn't go to jail. I couldn't get alcohol there, at least not easily. And Lainey loved me, I told myself, and she wouldn't want me to go to prison. I decided to take her down to the basement. We had a large, empty storage bin from when we'd moved. I could put her in that while I figured out what to do next. Pause the video while you answer the next questions. Question 7. What can you infer about the author's mental state based on his reaction to killing his wife? Question 8. Go back and highlight 2 pieces of evidence from this section that prove your inference about the author's mental state is correct. Unpause the video when you're ready to continue. I dragged her body down the stairs. I learned exactly what the term dead weight meant. Lainey only weighed about 120 pounds, but it felt like 300. I tried to fold her into the container. The body was fresh, so her joints still bent. Even so, it was nearly impossible to fit her into the container. If I bent a knee, an elbow popped up. If I bent her waist, her head popped up. It was like a game of whack-a-mole, but the game lasted hours instead of seconds. My head pounded as the alcohol wore off. Finally, she was tucked inside. I snapped the lid into place. I was shaking and covered in sweat, but I wasn't done. I cleaned the kitchen until every trace of blood was gone, wiping out every line in the tile and grain in the woodwork until it was smooth. I took the bloody rags outside and burned them in the fire pit where Lainey and I used to roast marshmallows on fall nights. Pause the video to answer the following questions. Question 9. What can you infer about the author's mental state based on his thoughts and behaviors as he moved his dead wife's body? Question 10. Go back and highlight 2 pieces of evidence from this section that prove your inference about the author's mental state is correct. I felt no guilt. I felt no shame. The house was quiet. My body and mind had both reached their limits. I had to sleep. I made my way to the sofa. I would never make it up the stairs to the bedroom. I did not dream. Only the sound of pounding on the door woke me up. Mr. Edgars, a man's voice called. Mrs. Edgars, are you home? Open the door. We're here from the Philadelphia Police Department. My stomach nodded. I opened the door. 2 police officers stood on the porch. Mr. Edgars, an officer asked. Yes, I'm Alan Edgars, I said, my mouth dry. Is there something I can help you with? I'm Officer Dupin. This is Officer Rodman. Do you mind if we come in? The officer asked. It might be less uncomfortable than talking about this where all the neighbors can see. I guess, I said, stepping aside. The officers entered. They removed their hats and stood uncomfortably in the hallway. What's going on? I asked. My heart was racing. My mouth was dry. Pause the video to answer the following questions. Question 11. What is the narrator's reaction when the police come to his house? Question 12. Based on the narrator's reaction, what do you predict will happen next? Unpause the video to continue. We'd like to speak to Mrs. Edgars if you don't mind, Dupin said. There's a report of a domestic disturbance at your residence yesterday afternoon. As you can see, everything is fine here, I said, gesturing around. We still need to speak to your wife, Dupin said. It's standard procedure. It'll only take a minute. Then we'll be on our way. She'd be happy to speak with you, I said, but she went to run some errands. Maybe you can come back later. Pause the video to answer the following question. Question 13. Why does the narrator say his wife can't speak to the police right now? Unpause the video when you're ready to continue. We'll wait, Rodman said. Do you mind if we have a look around? I was sweating. I fidgeted nervously. If you feel like you have to, I said. We do, Rodman said. Thanks for your cooperation. Pause the video to answer the following question. Question 14. Why is the narrator fidgeting and sweating? Unpause the video when you're ready to continue. That's when I heard the first meow. The officer smiled. Do you have a cat? Dupin asked pleasantly. I'm a cat person. I have 2 dogs, I said, confused. Well, that sounded like a cat to me, Dupin said, laughing. Rodman was looking in each room, checking the closets and looking closely at every surface. I don't have a cat, I said. Dupin looked uncomfortable. Well, something is meowing down there, Dupin said, gesturing towards the open basement door. Rodman and I can have a look for you. Maybe the neighbor's cat got down there. I said nothing. I followed the officers down the basement stairs. Well, what do you know, Dupin said. There is a cat down here. There, sitting on the lid of the storage bin, was a cat. I rubbed my eyes. I had to be imagining it. The cat looked exactly like Pluto. Black fur, go elf yourself stare. The only difference was that this cat had a strip of white fur around its neck, almost like a collar. Pause the video to answer the following question. Question 15. Explain what you think is going on with the cat. Why does the cat have a strip of white fur around its neck? Unpause the video when you are ready to continue. Get out! I screamed, lunging towards the cat. Get the F out of my house! Get out! Rodman and Dupin both stepped back, placing their hands on their service revolvers. The cat didn't move, not even an inch. It just sat there. Take it easy, Mr. Edgars, Dupin said calmly. It's just a cat. No reason to get all worked up. He was talking to me like I was crazy. I wasn't crazy. Get out! Get out! Get out! I screamed at the cat. Pause the video to answer the following question. Question 16. The narrator says he's not crazy. Do you agree? Why or why not? Unpause the video when you're ready to continue. Take it easy, Dupin repeated. I'm going to pick up the cat and take it outside, okay? Then we can sit down and talk, all right? Dupin gently lifted the cat from the top of the bin. As he did, the cat's claws caught under the lid, popping it open. The cat's eye never stopped looking at me. As the lid fell askew, Dupin took in a sharp breath. He dropped the cat and pulled his weapon and pointed at me. Get on the ground, Dupin told me. Now! Then, to Rodman, call for backup. Hands pushed me down on the damp basement floor. I felt cold metal on my wrist and my arms were pulled behind my back. I could hear the officers barking into the radios, but I couldn't understand the words. I couldn't take my eyes off the black cat as it sat there, watching me calmly. Get out! Get out! I screamed. Turning to look over its shoulder, the cat slowly walked up the stairs, out the front door, and down the alley. Pause the video to answer the following questions. Question 17. Why does Officer Dupin pull his gun and tell the narrator to get on the ground? Question 18. Why does the cat leave as soon as the body is discovered? Question 19. What do you predict will happen to the narrator? Unpause the video after you've answered these questions to receive instructions for the writing prompt. Writing prompt. Follow the following steps to write a paragraph on the following topic. Why does the narrator of this story, Allan Edgars, kill his wife? Write one sentence that gives your reason why Allan Edgars killed his wife. Write a second sentence that gives one piece of text evidence that proves your reason is correct. Write a third sentence that explains why the evidence you chose proves that your reason is correct. Write a fourth sentence that gives another piece of text evidence that proves your reason is correct. Write a fifth sentence that explains why the second piece of evidence you chose proves that your reason is correct.